I'd like to introduce Gwen from England, who takes LDN for primary progressive MS and fibromyalgia. Good morning, Gwen.
Good morning, Linda. Very nice to speak to you.
Could you tell us when you first noticed there was something wrong with you and how old you were at the time?
I was about 49 years old when I noticed that I was completely exhausted all the time. I was so fatigued that I found everyday life very difficult. It just had a real impact, and I was having trouble with walking. I just knew that there was something not right.
Mm-hmm. And did that advance over time?
It did. It became more and more difficult in my working life. I found that I was going to work and I'd come home and sleep, and that was almost my entire life. I didn't want to go out in the evening. I didn't want to mix with friends. I was just completely exhausted.
Mm-hmm. So at that time, how would you have rated your quality of life on a score of 1 to 10, 10 being the best?
About 4, I'd say.
Okay. So what did you do to try and improve your quality of life?
Well, first of all, I was trying to keep up with some sort of exercise. I used to walk a lot, and we continued to try and do that, but I found I'd go for a walk and I'd come home and fall asleep, or I just couldn't make it round the route we had planned, and my legs would just stop working. So basically I was just trying to rest as much as I could in between the things I had to do to be able to do the things I had to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And when did you first hear about LDN?
I first heard about LDN after I'd been diagnosed. And as I was diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis and there are no disease-modifying drugs for that, I started looking around just to see what, if anything, I could do about this situation I found myself in. So about 5 years ago I heard about LDN. I actually can't remember how I first became aware of it, but I did a lot of reading about it. I read everything I could find about it, and I decided that it obviously seemed a very safe drug to try, and as there was nothing else out there available for me, I thought, right, I'm going to give this a go.
Mm-hmm. And when you started, did you notice any side effects?
Yes, I had really vivid, quite unpleasant dreams for about 2 weeks after I started taking the drug.
Mm-hmm. And how long did it take before you noticed any improvements? I
actually had improvements in my condition within days of starting the LDN. Mainly things like it eased off muscle stiffness in my shoulders, my neck, which were down to fibromyalgia. Prior to taking LDN, I used to wake up thinking I'd been paralyzed because I couldn't move my head, I couldn't move my shoulders. It used to take a good half an hour to actually be able to get out of bed, and that was with the help of my husband. Whereas once I started taking LDN, it was amazing. I could just, wake up and get out of bed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you were telling me about other treatments that you tried. Would you like to explain what you have done to improve your condition?
Yeah. Last year, I went and had a procedure called HSCT. That stands for hematopoietic stem cell transplant, where your immune system is basically rebooted using chemotherapy. It works for all types of MS, even though not all places will treat all types of MS. And that has completely transformed my life. I think my MS has been halted in its progression, and I'm seeing improvements in my symptoms as well.
Mm-hmm. So getting back to the LDN, how would you summarise taking LDN for you?
For me, taking LDN when I first started it was life-changing because I felt that I was doing something to treat my condition, and I felt it definitely helped with the fibromyalgia side of things. It's a bit hard to kind of separate those things out, but that, looking back and thinking about it carefully, that's what I'm thinking. I think it helped with all the muscle stiffness, and it helped with my mood, and it helped with my sleep. I didn't get restless legs and things the same as I'd had before. I still continue to take it today because I think there has been some evidence that it can help with remyelination of your nerves as you go along, and obviously there has been some damage caused by the PPMS to my nervous system. So I would recommend it to anybody. I think you have nothing to lose by trying it, and I found it very helpful.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience with us, Gwen.
You're welcome.